How you going, guys? Shane here from the Vendon Boys, here to do a deck profile for my current Syn Shenron build. We've had this built since just before set 16 with some new set 16 cards, getting it ready for the meta. Obviously the main and sideboard we run is very dependent on our current meta with our locals, but can be optimized to how your locals play. So obviously we'll start off with the leader. Quickly, if you don't know what this leader does, it's a swing, look at top 5, add 1 Shadow Dragon card. End of the turn, choose 1 of your Shadow Dragon cards, switch it back to rest mode. The awaken cost is pretty simple. 3 or less life, you draw 2, untap 1, or if you have a unison with a specified cost of 4, same thing. Draw 2, untap 1, awaken. Awaken side, auto is just when it attacks draws. At the end of the turn, the difference with this auto is it untaps all your mono yellow Shadow Dragons, and then obviously the tap 6 is play up to 7 with different card names from your drop area. So the leader itself is a very good leader. Going into the main board, we have 4 1-star ball and 4 ice. So this is obviously the main card of the deck. Sort of this starts your chain from the 1 to the 4 to the 9. If you don't see this, you can use the ice here to find it. Yes, it's played with its skills negated. It can be risky, but sometimes it needs to be done. It's not horrible if you go first, but going second or even late game, they can be easily popped because its skills negated. So just be careful with that. Up the chain, we have 4 of the 4 cost, 4 of the 9 drop. So if you're going first, this is really good to go into your turn 2, because you can lock out your opponent's leader for the next turn so they don't get their draw or their search. So it can stall them out a turn, and then obviously having this on the board, it allows you to go into the 9 drop. If you don't know what this 9 drop does, it basically says anytime your opponent plays a battle card, you just negate its skills for the turn. Gets through barrier, so it's a very annoying card to deal with. Only downside, it doesn't have barrier, but other than that, it's a blocker revenge that restands every turn from your leader, so it's pretty busted. Onto the second best package of the deck. I know a lot of people play this at 4, but I found 4 for myself was too many. I think 3 is pretty ideal for me. And also 4 of the Oceanist. This card itself is just really busted with this card here. It's a very good 2-card combo. This kills a lot of the high cost dudes that become low cost on board, because when you swing with this, you can rest anything that doesn't have barrier, and if it has 2 cost or less, it can KO it. And obviously when you use the Omega effect, you copy the whole effect of this card, so it gives it barrier, blocker when it swings, do these abilities on this card. So it's just a very busted 2-card combo that's very easy to do. Very good staples for the deck. Hey Shenron. This card here is just inherently one of the best cards you can actually run in this deck as form of removal. You basically just pitch one other card with it and pop anything in rest mode with a higher energy cost than the current energy, so it helps against the mirror, it helps against Vegeta, it helps against any deck that really likes to play big dudes early turn, especially without barrier. This just gets rid of them for a very effective way, just by pitching one other Shadow Dragon when you combo with it or when you swing with it. We also played 2 of the Oceanists here. This is very good to just restand your blockers during your opponent's turns, especially if you want to restand your revenges, so you can revenge block into other stuff to get rid of them. For those who aren't aware, revenge does get through barrier, so it's a good way to get rid of those pesky barrier cards that you can't necessarily remove with other cards you may have, so always keep that in mind. My super combo of choice was 4 of the Zamasu. I've seen people play this at a 3-1 split with a Chi-Lai. I personally have never needed the Chi-Lai, I just think this is just generically better. But yet again, it's all down to a person's playstyle and their current meta at their locals, but I think this card is just generically the best super combo for the deck. Onto my unisons. Pretty basic lineup. 1 Rose, 4 Meki. This is a really good turn 3 play. If you can get this out on your turn 3, you're awakening on your turn 3, so you can awaken sometimes at 6 to 7 life, which is very good for the deck, and you can basically just control the whole game state from there. Worst case scenario, if you just play this on your turn 4, this is just a good card. When you block with it and lose the marker from an attack, you can choose any of your opponent's cards and switch it to rest mode. So this inherently just can tap leaders, unisons, battle cards, energy, like it just gets around so much. And the +1 just locks down any problem cards which you can't necessarily get around. So for example, as the Master, when they swing with it, they rip a card from you. You have to rip a card from your hand. You know, stuff like that. You can utilize this to get around if it's in rest mode, so it can't untap. So you just use this +1 for the problem cards that you find hard to get around. Otherwise, you always have the -4, which you can obviously always gank one of their dudes. Unfortunately, it doesn't get around barrier, but as long as you're ganking something of value, it doesn't matter. And this here itself is pretty good in the sense of you can swing with this, +0 it, and then give a blocker and restand it. So it becomes an attack and a block in the same turn essentially, which isn't that bad. A couple more one-offs. Swift Retaliation Cooler. We all know what this card does. This just stops any problem card that you may have. I've seen people play this at 2, but I don't necessarily always have the energy to play 2, so I played it as just a 1. If I have it, I have it. If I don't, I don't. I play 1 Nova. I think Nova is a very good card. I was debating bumping up to 2. This actually has a really good combo play with your 4 cost. So if you have the 1-star ball out, you can always play this to 1 energy, rest it, play your 4 cost, and then evolve a 9 drop on top of that. So you can always get back your 9 drop for only 2 energy opposed to the 3 that you normally use. So this is just a really good restarter for recycling your grave when you don't have any more 4 costs in deck. I play 1 Oceanus. Obviously it's really good negate. Basically shuts their turn down or makes a mill of the cards. Probably one of the best 4 drops in the deck. This has basically every keyword skill on it. Deflect, Double Strike, Barrier, Blocker. Very hard card to remove. You can Spirit Boost it, either activate Mana or Battle to restand it. And when you do, they have to mill a card. So it's easy to thin your opponent's deck out. And not only that, it's a constant blocker every turn. I'll play 1 Surprise Attack. I think 1's plenty. It's a very good card. Rest anything, battle card or unison, so it just gets around anything that's a problem. 1 Triple Striker. I see people playing this at 2, but I think 1's fair enough. I don't necessarily warp 7 to play it. Very rare scenario, but I think 1 is fine just when you play it if you tap 7. We also have 1 SS Rose. Now, I'm not sure how many people have been playing this, but we've been testing this when it got announced. This card is very, very good. A lot of the time you don't have a turn 3 play, so this can actually be your turn 3 play. For those of you who don't know what this does, is basically if your leader card is yellow, activate battle if you pay 2 and you have 2 or more blue and or yellow cards in your battle area or your combo area. You can play this from your hand or your warp. And then when it's played, you can choose one of your opponent's non-leader cards and rest it. So you can choose Unison's, Energy, or Battle cards with this, as long as it doesn't have Barrier. You can essentially swing with this, and then you can activate main, tap 1, warp this, draw a card, and choose one of their battle cards in rest mode and KO it. And then because you put this in the warp, every turn you can recycle this as many times as you want, as long as it doesn't hit your drop area. This will always be recycled. So this is always a constant tap, kill, draw. So it's not actually a bad combo if you want to test it. I would play it as a 1. I don't think any more than 1. I think any more than 1 would be too much, but I think 1's just a good round number. 1 Poutine. Obviously everyone knows what Poutine does. It's a very good card. So yeah, I don't really think I need to explain into that. For my secret rare of choice, I've been running the 7 cost promo. This just inherently does a lot. Even if it dies, it doesn't get removed from the game like most new secret rares. So this here basically allows you to block multiple attacks by negging at 5k. And even if it dies, you just bring it back to the leader. But this is saving on countless amount of games, especially against blue. This can also be played off the 1-star ball if you have 3 or more 1-drops in your battle. So you can basically have 2 in there, go 1 cost, get rid of it, and then play it from your hand because you have 3. So now it's reduced by 1 for each, what's the 4. So you can play this off of your 1-star ball for 1 energy. So it's actually a very good combo you can play. Couple of tech cards, 2 Freezer. For those of you who don't know what this does, this has Deflect, Double Strike, Blocker. It can't be removed from your battery by opponent's skills. And when it's played, it carries everything in rest mode, obviously not ignoring Barrier. And then once per turn, when they activate a counter skill, you can choose any 2 of their cards, switch into rest mode, and they can't be switched to active mode until the end of the next turn. So this can lock down blue mainly. You can lock down anything that's really a problem with this. At the end of the turn, when you first play it, it restands as well. Ideally as well, this doesn't have unique, so you can play more than 1 of this and essentially lock down 4 cards a turn. if you get to that point. For my extra cards, one Power of the Super Saiyan. Everyone knows what this card does. It's a good card. Obviously this was a 4 of until it got hit. 2 Vegeta's Final Flash. This just gets around your problem cards which you might want to beat over or something. This just doesn't allow you to play the game. A lot of time was mainly used for Slug, but Slug's not really seen at the moment, so that doesn't really matter. 3 Forbidden Power. This is just a generally good card if you're versing the aggro. Worst case scenario, you can just arrest a problem card or charge it, doesn't matter. I was testing this originally at 3. I think 3 of this was too much. I always found it to be a hand clog. I think 2 is the ideal number for this card. It is a generically good card. So I recommend this at 2. If you really want to run a third, you could always side it, but I think 2 is the ideal number for this deck. Going into the sideboard. Sideboard's very, I guess, generic. 2 Tyrannical Blow. This just gets around problem cards, I guess, that you might want to get around, whether it be battle cards or unisons. It's just a generically good yellow card. 2 Dragon Fist. This is just good against the other yellow matchups. It's just a generically good card. It's basically a worse version of Fu, but it still does what it needs to do. 2 Vegeta. This is obviously good in against Vegeta or other decks that play big dudes quite early. It's also good for the mirror. So this is just another generically good card. 2 of this Goku. I wasn't originally playing this on my side, but I recently changed it because SS4 is a big problem for this deck. It very easily kills this deck with how much you can do, especially with the Boo Unison. So this card here inherently just easily removes the marker down without them being able to get rid of this. So this is just a generically good card to get around blue decks, especially the Boo Unison. 2 Max Power Kamehameha. This is just good to get around problem cards like Syn 9-drops and that, so you can warp them so they can't replay them. Because obviously when you verse the mirror, this is the 9-drop is the, I guess you could call the problem card of the deck. So you use this to get rid of it, and you're sitting in a pretty good spot. If I'm versing another deck that I would prefer to see protein a bit quicker, I have a second one to chuck in here. So it's just generically good to have a second of, just in case you want to see it. Always not needed, but it's just nice to have it. 2 Koitsukai. This card's always in and out of the meta, but I think with yellow being a bit more predominant, especially with yellow Frieza running around, this card here is just very good. This basically says you want to play your opposed, that's fine, but I get the better value. And 2 Dark King Flashes. Now this card here is very good against the mirror. This basically says that if you have 5 more energy on your next turn, that you can't use your leader's ability to tap 6. So this basically locks them out in their turn 6 from being able to basically spam their board. So yeah, this is just good for the mirror. That's about all I have for this deck profile. We'll have a lot more deck profiles coming up, as well as tournament games and that for you guys to watch. Always keen to hear some feedback, but appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. Yeah, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.